All right, David Hooper, Build a Big Podcast. And if I sound different, there are a couple of reasons why. One, I'm in the middle of recording this audiobook. I mentioned it here before. It's 93,000 words, probably, 12 hours of finished audio. And I don't know how to read, and I'm not a great voiceover guy, so it's taken me a minute. I am, 2-3 weeks in and working on it, but it's kind of getting my voice, and that's why I sound different. I also sound a little bit different because I'm going straight into a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. You may be familiar with that interface, and the reason I'm doing that is because my audiobook setup is a little bit different than my podcasting setup. I wanted a raw, stripped-down recording that the editor can go in and manipulate, and it doesn't have the usual compression, enhancer, expander, noise gate, funky EQ. I got this from Chris Curran. If you've listened to the last 2 episodes of Build a Big Podcast, he's really been a huge help to me on making sure that when I do end up with this, 12, 13 hours, whatever I said, of finished tape, the 30-something, 50-something hours of work that I'm putting into this, that I don't end up with something that I can't use. And that's why I'm going in raw. This is a great system. It's $159. You can get it at Amazon. I will have a link in the episode notes. But the Focusrite 2i2 third generation, I've used these things before, and third generation sounds as good as any, and it's as cheap as any. So $159, I think $119 if you're just a solo podcaster and you don't need to have a second input for a second microphone. Episode notes have more information on that. The other thing that Chris got me into that I want to briefly mention is M4A. That is what this file is, and that is because, according to Chris, it's got better ears than me. It sounds better, it is more compressed, and everything plays it. So if you are doing your podcast via MP3 files, nothing wrong with that. I had the first 300-something episodes of MP3 files, and I like it, but M4A is what I'm testing now. It's smaller. If you're worried about your space of your podcast host, you say, hey, I'm running out of space. What do? Well, try M4A, and I think it is 40 kilobits, or I don't know the exact settings, but I'll mention that in the episode notes as well. Briefly, I want to mention something to you that is topical right now, and it's something that I mentioned 3 episodes ago. I was kind of making fun of the CNN Democrat presidential nomination debates that they had, and they made them sound like a reality show. There was just a debate a couple of days ago, and I want to mention something to you because I think we're starting to see this more in our popular culture. It's something that I think podcasters are known for. I'm going to play a clip for you here. One of them is that we're hearing more personal stories from people, and this is something that you never would have heard in past presidential debates. If you can imagine Nixon versus Kennedy, they didn't get personal like they are now. I'm going to play this quick clip by Pete Buttigieg talking about something that, speaking of personal, we really would have not heard this, not even 8 years ago. So this is kind of amazing. Check out this personal story.
As a military officer serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and as an elected official in the state of Indiana when Mike Pence was governor, at a certain point, when it came to professional setbacks, I had to wonder whether just acknowledging who I was going to be the ultimate career-ending professional setback. I came back from the deployment and realized that you only get to live one life, and I was not interested in not knowing what it was like to be in love any longer. So I just came out. I had no idea what kind of professional setback it would be, especially because, inconveniently, it was an election year in my socially conservative community. What happened was that when I trusted voters to judge me based on the job that I did for them, they decided to trust me and reelected me with 80% of the vote. And what I learned was that trust can be reciprocated, and that part of how you can win and deserve to win is to know what's worth more to you than winning. And I think that's what we need in the presidency right now.
So that's Pete Buttigieg talking about being gay. I mean, imagine that. The world is changing. You can say stuff and you think it's going to be a big deal, but the more people hear that stuff, they're like, is that really a big deal? And I'm going to encourage you, not that you have to tell everything to everybody who's listening to your podcast and get all down and dirty with your personal stories and stories about your kid and your wife. And no. I'm not talking about that. But if you do let people in, if there's something that you want to share, not that big a deal these days. So share it. It doesn't have to be as extreme as Pete Buttigieg. It could be something little. Just something to let people know that you're human, and what you're going to find is that listeners will better connect with you because of that. The second thing, this is another example from the presidential debates. Beto O'Rourke, man, talk about a bold move. A lot of times you'll hear politicians and they just want to tiptoe around issues. They give you a very political answer, something that's not going to piss off anybody. Well, he said something that really pissed off a lot of people. Here he is from the recent presidential debate talking about gun control.
I do want to come to Congressman O'Rourke because I know this is personal to you. El Paso is your hometown. Some on this stage have suggested a voluntary buyback for guns in this country. You've gone further. You said, quote, Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government, all of them. You know the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am. If it's a weapon that was designed to kill people on a battlefield, if the high-impact, high-velocity round, when it hits your body, shreds everything inside of your body because it was designed to do that so that you would bleed to death on a battlefield and not be able to get up and kill one of our soldiers. When we see that being used against children, and in Odessa, I met the mother of a 15-year-old girl who was shot by an AR-15, and that mother watched her bleed to death over the course of an hour because so many other people were shot by that AR-15 in Odessa and Midland. There weren't enough ambulances to get to them in time. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
So that's Beto O'Rourke, currently working on that presidential nomination. Will he do it? I don't know. Maybe this stuff is too forward. And I think that's the thing that we worry about as podcasters. But it's got to start somewhere. If you are something or believe something, if you're Christian, love Jesus. If you're atheist, deny Jesus. If you're gay, be gay. I don't know. Whatever that thing is for you, if you feel the need to share it, go ahead and share it. And if you have a belief that maybe isn't popular, go ahead and say it. Fly that flag. It's one of my 11 rules. If you're not aware of my rules, you can get them along with some other great stuff, social media templates, storytelling shortcuts, episode templates, things to make your podcast production easier. These things are all free and available to you at my website, bigpodcast.com. So go to bigpodcast.com, and while you are there, I want you to sign up for the mailing list, and I want you to subscribe to Build a Big Podcast. That way you will make sure to never miss an episode. It's all available to you at bigpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. I'm going back to work on this book. I will have it to you hopefully within the next month. I will let you know, be giving away some free copies. That's another great reason to subscribe, get on the mailing list. I've been talking about Audible, about giving away a lot of free copies. Working on it. Subscribe. Make sure you don't miss an episode, and I will see you on the next one of Build a Big Podcast.